All right, guys. It is exactly 12 o'clock noon on Tuesday. January 20th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I should have been more prepared before starting this video and checked before announcing voluntarily. Hopefully, I'm correct. But usually on all my live videos, I begin them with a few moments of nothingness waiting for the viewers to join the video live stream. I hope you can hear the slow jazz in the background. Okay. So I'm going to get started now. Like I said, it is 12 o'clock noon. I don't like this angle of the camera. Ay, ay, ay. So the way the microphone clips, it's better on this side. But anything that touches it, even slightly, will cause weird noises that I don't want. They don't sound good. So let me make some adjustments. The camera angle. Oh my gosh. Shelby. Hi, thanks for joining. I will be reading a newspaper article that's a little disturbing, as I've announced in my posts section. Now, it comes from, this is so much better, the camera angle. This magazine that I picked up, the title of it says Men's Health, and the edition is November, December 2024. But the reason why the article that I wanted to read in this live stream from this magazine about a doctor. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excusez-moi. Excuse me. It's the middle of the day. It's lunchtime. So I have been eating because I'm a human being who needs fuel in my body to perform. So The Bad Doctor, page 88. self-fulfilling prophecy video, and the one person that I was talking to in that video was a bad doctor, and I mentioned the number 88. And this article I'm reading today is about a bad doctor on page 88. The universe I'm so in alignment with, and I just love it. Hi, thanks for being here. Mwah. Every time I acknowledge a viewer that I see, they tend to disappear like they have shyness or something. They're scared of being seen. That's kind of weird. Like demons are scared of being seen. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I want to actually take a screenshot or a photo of this image I'm about to show you to make the cover for this video live stream. Okay, this is the first page of the article. Okay, it's his face. Okay, and I am not a racist person, but I just making an observation, a notation. The same bad doctor in my personal life whom I made that twin flame video about is a dark olive complexion skinned person, not Native American born. They are legal immigrants from Middle Eastern countries. Okay. Dark skinned people. And this is a dark skinned person whom I am, as a single woman, am personally attracted to. That's my type, is that color of skin, right? I like black people, melanated people. I'm not really attracted to white men as a white woman. But, everyone has different personal preferences. But as far as personal attraction, I like this as dark skin. However, African American, you could say, this person, that's not what I'm attracted to. That is not the same as that. Yeah, they're both dark skinned, but that person is more of a Middle Eastern. Okay. Bad doctor. Okay, so that's Middle Eastern and that's African American. Okay. When patients kept nearly dying at a surgical center in Dallas. Oh my God. What the fuck? Someone do something. There's something going on here, fishy. You know what I mean? Nobody thought that it might be an inside job. Well, I sure freaking would have. That would have been my very first thought. Here's how a team of medical investigators uncovered the disturbing truth. Medical investigators, I love you. And how you can protect yourself from quacks, hacks, and downright people who wear masks, fake people, right, that I talked about in my video about my USC urology review that I will totally tag as cards in this video after it's done, when I can. All these videos I'm referencing that I've filmed in the past, okay? Please watch them. They're very juicy, okay? And how you can protect yourself from quacks, hacks, and downright dangerous doctors. Written by Brent Crane, illustrations by the graphic artist Mark Harris. Good job, buddy boo boo. All right. You're going to be famous because you're on Mama Shelby's YouTube channel. Medical terrorist. Oh, yeah. I referred to the bad doctor as a terrorist of sorts. Yep. He sold my freaking adrenal gland to the Washington, D.C. on the black market. Yeah. Oh, but I'm just a nobody, right? Yeah, these people are fucking insane. On August 24th, 2022, an 18-year-old named Jack Adlerstein checked into the Baylor Scott and White North Dallas Surgical Care Center in Texas. He had come to have an injury repaired, a deviated septum, following a dirt bike accident. It's a common procedure. While he was under anesthesia, the teen's blood pressure soared to 200 over 150, a dangerously high figure. Look, I hope you don't mind. I'm trying to fix my hair. My hair is a combination, so it's really hard to work with, and I also have a cowlick. Even though I want my bangs to be straight across, but the cowlick is just, it's kind of impossible to do that. So, oh my goodness. You know what? It's so much better to have my hair on this side because of the microphone. All right. Thank you for being patient with me. All right. I think I'm done now. Adjusting my image for this video. The local news reported the dramatic details. Fluid filled his lungs and then his heart stopped. Obviously, he was transferred to an ICU. Yeah, bitch, I see you too, bad doctor. Yeah. You think I'm lying about my spiritual gifts? I see you too, bitch. Yeah. Excuse my language, okay? Hours later, he awoke without the ability to speak or move. And doctors worried about lasting neurological damage. Well, good, they should be worried. Doctors should be worried about making a patient worse instead of better. Yeah, that's not their job. They failed if that happens. During all of this, Ashley Burks, the facility administrator, called the surgery center's governing chair. It's happening again, she said. What the The North Dallas Surgical Care Center occupies a handsome modernist building near the North Central Expressway. It is partly owned by physicians, which means that trained medical professionals rather than corporate bureaucrats decide how it operates. Good. Proponents of this model can say it can result in better care. The rest belongs to Baylor Scott and White, a healthcare conglomerate that manages 48 hospitals and more than 900 patient care sites in Texas. It employs some 7,300 doctors and 49,000 healthcare workers across the state, making it the largest nonprofit healthcare entity there and one of the biggest in the whole country, too. Mistakes happen at the center. Mistakes happen everywhere, okay? It's part of normal human life. Humans are not perfect, right? Mistakes happen at hospitals everywhere because medicine is not an exact science. Unexpected events occur, especially at large hospitals, given the sheer number of procedures that are done there, statistically wise, right? But what had been taking place at the North Dallas Surgery Center was frighteningly abnormal. At least 11 unexplained emergencies occurred with OR patients. I want to interpret that as operating room. In the summer of 2022. Listen, I'm not a medical professional, okay? Although I do have some in my family. I am not one. In August alone, when Adlerstein had his near-fatal accident, the center had the same number of quote-unquote transfers when problems require moving a patient to an emergency medical facility. As the number recorded in all of 2021. It was as if some awful curse had befallen it. Yeah? This guy. Bad doctor. We couldn't find similarities in all the cases. There wasn't the same nurse in the room or wasn't the same doctor, and it wasn't in the same operating room either. We looked at all of the things and were extremely perplexed. Burks later testified in court. We were desperately trying to figure out what was wrong. The surgery's center unsettling emergencies extended beyond its patients. Okay, wow. In late June of 2022, Melanie Kaspar, MD, a 55-year-old anesthesiologist there. One day, she brought an IV bag home, intending to self-medicate by rehydrating with it. Some renovations were being done in the house, so her husband John helped connect her IV bag and she left to rehydrate in the apartment above their garage. Some minutes later, John received a call from Melanie. She was shrieking into her phone. When John reached her, he asked if the IV bag that was still connected to her arm was the cause of her agony. No, it's my arm and my chest, she screamed. While John was on the phone with 911, Melanie collapsed, spoke incoherently for a few seconds, and then fell silent. That's what I did once when I died and went to hell. In a panic, John began CPR. By the time the paramedics arrived, Melanie's heart had stopped. Initially, her sudden death was thought to be due to a heart attack, but even in his immense grief, John found this difficult to comprehend. An avid cyclist and an adventurous traveler, his wife had been in excellent health. 2 months later, an autopsy vindicated his doubts. Coroners found high levels of bupivacaine, a nerve block medication commonly used for local anesthesia and pain management, in her bloodstream. They determined that her cause of death was a fatal dose of that drug, though it was unclear how she received it. It appeared that her death had not been a mere misfortune or accident after all. There was something more to it. Around the time that Melanie's autopsy report was completed, another anesthesiologist at the North Dallas Center, Chad Marsden, MD, came into the facility. His plan was to comb over patient files, looking for a connection among all the unexplained events, one of which had happened while he was working in the OR the week before. Oh my gosh. Inexplicably, the patient's heart rate continued to climb up and up during the follow-up surgery after a tummy tuck. That situation had been quote unquote confusing and frankly very scary. He later testified in court. As with all of these similar incidents at the Surge Care Center that summer, the patient survived after receiving emergency care. Thank God. When Dr. Marsden got to the center to go through the patient files, he learned another emergency was underway. It was Jack Adlerstein, or Adlerstein, not sure how to pronounce that. And the doctor rushed to the operating room. OR, perhaps is what I think it might stand for. There he recounted something that had occurred during the incident in his OR. Yeah, that's confirmation. A tech had swapped out an IV bag minutes before he noticed the patient's blood pressure escalating. His theory sounded outlandish, he admitted, but I think there might be a problem with the IV bags. Thank you for speaking up, buddy. He convinced Burks, the administrator, to exchange Adlerstein's IV bag for a fresh one. It worked! Okay. After the teen, oh God, was transferred to the ICU and stabilized. Dr. Marsden inspected all of the IV bags and wrappers in the OR. He spotted a tiny puncture hole in the plastic wrapper of the bag that had been changed out. Oh my God. There's your fucking evidence. The bag was eventually tested for contamination. Bupivacaine, Bupivacaine, the same drug found in Melanie Kaspar's system who died, was present in the saline IV bag alongside two other powerful drugs, lidocaine and epinephrine. When the surgery center learned about Melanie's autopsy results, it was ruled too similar to be a coincidence. A disturbing reality was beginning to take shape. Someone at the North Dallas Surgical Care Center was tampering with those bags. That's the curse. The bad doctor, right? Wow. The Middle Eastern man. Interesting. It's just interesting to me. Like I said, I'm really not racist. I'm connecting the dots, okay? My personal bad doctor, who I made videos about in the past, was a Middle Eastern man. Okay? Similarities. All right. Clinicide. The word clinicide. 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 Doctors who intentionally cause a patient's death during treatment. Okay, I'm going to stop here just because I need a break. And I'm going to warn you, and I'm going to tell you like I should have before I even started this video. I knew before even making this video and filming and everything, this topic of a person who is supposed to be a healthcare worker misusing their role for evil, it really bothers me emotionally. So I know there could be some tears. Okay. And I could feel not very comfortable while reading it. Okay. Excuse me, I had to burp. So I'm taking a little break right now. There's like 2 more pages left, okay? I'm at 25 minutes here. All right. It's a miracle I'm alive. After everything I've been through, God is the reason that I have the ability to even make this video for you right now, that I am alive. God is the reason that I am alive, okay? And for people to treat me with disrespect and disdain and devalue me, you're not just doing it to me, you're doing it to God. Okay, because God sees me as extremely highly valuable, as he does everyone whom he has saved from death, including these people I'm mentioning here. My heart is extremely compassionate. God gave me a literal award for compassionate heart. So for anyone to try and send me the evil eye, it just goes right back to you, return to sender, okay? And I have my reasons for that, and they're very pure and holy. Because the reason I return to sender everything anyone sends to me, return to sender, whether it be good or bad. You get back 3 times what you send out, according to the law of 3, because I'm Irish. Yeah. You don't see my Irishness? Well, then you're blind. Okay. What am I going to have for lunch? I vowed to myself I'm not going to make burgers anymore. And there's veggie burgers too. But it's too much work for cooking for me. I'm not a person who likes cooking. I don't think cooking is gender specific. I know a lot of people, especially religious people, will try to brainwash you that, you know, gender roles and stuff and expectations. And I understand that. But reality, okay. Religion is one thing, reality is another. Okay. Reality is that humans are humans and they have the same responsibilities in life no matter what genitalia they have on their body. And that includes cooking and cleaning. We're all responsible for that for ourselves. And for you to expect another person to do that for you like they're your slave, you're laughable, really. Sure, people can agree to that willingly, but I'm not the kind of woman to agree to misogyny willingly. And I enthusiastically share that message to the public, to the world. If you're a woman like me, you do not have to submit and buy into the misogynistic narrative. I was just thinking the other day, why are most men so threatened by a powerful woman? And my answer was, her very existence is a threat to the patriarchy. But guess what? You're not God. Humans are not God. And God is both male and female. Wake up call. Newsflash. I'll repeat that again because it's worth it. God is both male and female. And I'm speaking the truth as a Christian prophetess. So, patriarchy has had its way for enough centuries and times and ages where I think it's time now for that to start changing. Maybe to foster a little more balance, we could start leaning more towards matriarchy than patriarchy. Maybe not do the major, transition so swiftly, but I could become the first female president of the United States of America with all of that being said. The matriarch. Respect for women. Absolutely. Amen. That doesn't mean worship women. That doesn't mean women enslave men. It means we're making a statement for gender equality, is all it means. Okay. And if a little boy whose ego wants to delude himself into a lie that he's a man is threatened by the mere fact of a woman being powerful, that's laughable. Okay. Oh, M stands for Mayella. Yeah, it's the first letter of my daughter's name. My heart. I love you, Mayella. You're my angel. For real. I've called you that ever since the day you were born. I love you, honey. I love you, Mayella. Mama loves Mayella. Very, very, very much. More than anyone. I love you so much, Mayella. I have so many presents for you. I have a big collection of presents for you, Mayella. I'm just waiting for you to come and get. And open and so I can see the smile on your face and the joy in your heart. And that you say that you like these things and you say thank you and give appreciation for the money and the thought that I put into it. Because I miss you like crazy. Yeah. I do. I miss you like crazy, Mayella. Shelby's not crazy, but if she is, it's because you made her that way, because you ripped her daughter from her and brainwashed her against me with lies. Yeah, bitch. You know who I'm talking to, bitch. Fucking bitch. OMG. I forgot I had the microphone still on me. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. I really DGAF. All right, so I took a break at 25 minutes and now it's 35 minutes and I'm getting back into the reading. Okay, so I'm going from, excuse me about that total accident. I apologize. Okay. Clinicide. It appeared that Melanie's death had not been a mere misfortune. After all, clinicide refers to doctors who intentionally cause a patient's death during treatment. It was coined in 2007 by Robert M. Kaplan, Kaplan, a forensic psychiatrist in Sydney, Australia. Though the term is relatively new, the phenomenon is old. Oh my God. One of the first documented cases was that of William Palmer, who poisoned several patients in mid-19th century England. That's abuse of power. Other grim notables include Harold Shipman, a British general practitioner who is thought to have murdered as many as 450 patients in the late 20th century, and Michael Swango, Swango, MD, an American who killed 60 patients in several U.S. states, including other countries like Zambia and Zimbabwe between the years 1983 and 1996. So he was obviously also, I mean, this is an assumption, but a dark-skinned person. Okay. I'm not I'm not villainizing dark-skinned people. I'm making connections. Nurses have also been prolific killers. In fact, one 2006 study of serial killers by healthcare professionals, published in the Journal of Forensic Sciences, found nurses accounted for 86% of the prosecutions of those cases. The personality types and profiles of perpetrators are myriad, but these people all do harm under the cover of care. So I'm adding here my own commentary. I think it's safe to assume that anyone who would do something like this has a personality disorder of some kind, psychologically. The authors of a 2020 paper in the British Medical Journal were blunt. Arguably, the medicine has thrown up more serial killers than all of the other professions put together. Wow, that's a big statement. They just said the medical field has more serial killers than any other field. Do you know how fucked up that is? Varied as the psychological motivations behind clinicide may be, the critical issue is the power doctors hold. Yeah, the power imbalance. If you're a patient and you're going into surgery, especially, you're completely vulnerable. You're signing over your life when you're putting your signature on that paper to get surgery. And those are the cold, hard facts. That's truth spoken. Okay. The critical issue is the power doctors hold over life and death. Yeah, you're putting your life into a complete stranger's hand. Says Kaplan, psychopaths like Shipman and Swango use the thrill of killing to overcome their inner emotional numbing. And there is also a gray zone for those with massive hubris who will not accept criticism of their work and see themselves above the issues affecting their patients, he adds. All of this raises the question, how can we as patients trust that our doctor is not one of the bad ones? So, doctors are supposed to have a high degree of empathy, not just some empathy, but more empathy than normal people. And what it's saying here is these serial killer doctors, the bad doctors in healthcare, they actually have an emotional numbness problem. And so the reason why they kill their patients is to relieve their emotional numbness for some kind of thrill. When they hear that their patient is dead, it relieves their emotional numbness. And that is like the driving reason why they do it. Okay. In America, there are systems that are supposed to weed out the rotten apples. Okay. Huh. Maybe if a doctor has sex with his colleagues, that might be a red flag. I'm just saying, maybe, huh? Maybe. Yeah, especially if he's married with kids. Yeah. Yeah. And Middle Eastern and emotionally numb, connecting the dots. Selling the body parts of his patients on the black market to Washington, D.C. without their consent. He should be fired. In 1986, Ronald Reagan, the president at the time that I was born in America, signed into law the Healthcare Quality Improvement Act. Good for you. This enabled the formation of the National Practitioners Data Bank, NPDB, a federal database of physician disciplinary, malpractice, judgment, and conviction reports. It was intended to prevent dangerous doctors from jumping from state to state and to provide legal protection for those reporting negligent colleagues. Give an award to everyone who's done that. Hi, thanks for being here. It's good to see you here. How is it then that nearly 4 decades later, the problem of lethal healthcare professionals persists? That they can rampage through the reputable facilities like the Baylor Scott and White North Dallas Surgery Care Center. You know, I it's really sad because the one serial killer doctor who worked there would turn me personally off as a patient, to ever have any to go there at all, to save my life. One reason is that the average healthcare professional is simply not on the lookout for malicious colleagues. Medicine is messy, and you don't always get the results you hope for or your patient hopes for, says Kaplan. So there's a great degree of tolerance for adverse events. That takes you a long way before somebody starts thinking, damn, is he deliberately killing these people? Reynaldo Ortiz Jr., MD, a 61-year-old anesthesiologist, received his Texas medical license in 1991. Domineering and full of swagger, he eventually started his own business, Garland Anesthesia Consultants. It contracted out anesthesiologists, including himself, to healthcare facilities. Ortiz's pudgy, forlorn face belied his reputation for being quick-witted and an effective charmer in professional settings. He was known as lavish spender, according to David Billman, MD, who is part of an anesthesiology group that competed with Ortiz's for decades. The Dallas anesthesiology market was highly competitive, and Ortiz would woo surgeons with expensive dinners and event tickets. By 2017, it was estimated that his company was raking in up to $9 million in revenue annually. Ortiz was able to purchase a Corvette, a Lexus, and 3 Mercedes. Do you really need all of that, Ortiz? Do you really need 4 cars? Really? I don't think so. He bought a mansion with a large pool in Murphy, a wealthy Dallas suburb, that was valued at $1.3 million. Okay. But he also had a tendency towards rage. That's severe out of control anger. That is dangerous. During the height of the pandemic, Ortiz became irate when a surgery administrator ordered him to wear a mask. Oh my gosh. Sounds like a little baby. In an angry fit, he shouted into the other man's face. He made such a scene that security had to be called in. The administrator he threatened, Jeremy Johnson, recalled that Ortiz could be rough with patients while they were intubated if he became frustrated. According to the local news outlet, D Magazine, Johnson also said that he feared Ortiz might retaliate against him or his family for speaking out. Dr. Billman remembers a similar vibe. Everyone gave Ray a wide berth, BERTH, I don't know what that means, because there was a perception that he wasn't a guy that you would mess with. Ortiz had been that way for a long time. In 1995, he was arrested for assaulting his wife, who then divorced him. Good for you, sweetie. The two eventually entered into a settlement for an undisclosed sum. A decade later, another woman filed for an emergency protective order against Ortiz, also alleging assault. In 2014, he was arrested for assaulting a third woman. Who thereafter filed for an emergency protective order. With that victim, yet another settlement was reached for an undisclosed sum. Ortiz's neighbor, Roxanne Bogdan, witnessed that assault and testified on behalf of the victim during the protective order hearing. A few months afterward, Ortiz shot Bogdan's dog with a pellet gun. He was charged with a Class A misdemeanor, which the Texas Medical Board referred to as a crime of moral turpitude. I don't know what that means. He was fined $4,000, ordered to pay the dog's veterinary bills, and given 2 years of community service. Months later, he received a public reprimand with a P, and a $2,000 fine from the Texas Medical Board for failing to notify all hospitals of the charge. One board record also referred to Ortiz's history of violence against women. Despite the arrests, he was allowed to continue practicing after a 14-day suspension. Now, I just want to show the picture here. There's a police car in front of the hospital. So, a man who's a doctor, is a violent little baby who abuses women who can't take accountability. And so this is what happens when you are a narcissist, okay? You cause emergencies with your stupid, immature behavior, and the police have to come and arrest you. Okay. Until his arrest, Ortiz worked at the Baylor Scott and White North Dallas Surgical Care Center. Isn't that the same place where the other guy that I just read you about, this was the serial killer from the Middle East? This guy was Mexican. They're both olive skin. I'm just making, connecting the dots. Okay. So this was not so surprising. State medical boards rarely draw a straight line between personal misbehavior and professional misconduct. Huh. I just posted something yesterday, a story about that connection in another childcare center where I worked. Disturbing. A connection between personal misbehavior and professional misconduct. This goes without saying, it's so obvious that someone who has personal misbehavior will eventually be convicted of professional misconduct. A doctor's personal and professional realms are routinely viewed as not connected. Well, that's pretty darn stupid. Any medically related or felony criminal judgments or convictions are required to be reported to the NPDB, but strictly personal or minor offenses are not. This is a norm that runs deep through the culture of physicians. I know surgeons that do a wonderful job, but their personal lives on many levels are wheels off, says Dr. Billman, the Dallas anesthesiologist. But I'd let them operate on me because they're great surgeons. When you get into pure criminal behavior, there is a limit, but I'm setting that bar pretty high. Kelsey McKay, a patient advocate and former prosecutor in Texas, says that medical boards, which are composed mostly of doctors themselves, often argue that even an extreme case of personal misbehavior by a physician is not a patient issue, quote unquote, and therefore not relevant. Wow. Okay, these people obviously never studied psychology or don't understand human behavior at all, and that's kind of weird. That's a standard she's trying to change. Sexual assault and domestic violence are public health issues. They are serious. She says, if the medical community is not going to do anything about this, then who is? By 2020, Ortiz was working at a Baylor Scott and White Surgical Care Center in Garland, Texas. In November, a patient he was overseeing there had to be resuscitated and transferred to an ICU after Ortiz failed to notice that the patient was having difficulty breathing. Whether it was an oversight or something sinister is not clear, but not long after, he relinquished his privileges to practice at the Garland Surgery Center and continued working for other facilities. I'll be right back. Dangerous doctors frequently change locations after incidences, says Robert E. Oshel, PhD, a retired associate director at the NPDB, who now advocates for patient safety. Good boy. Hospitals, fearful of being sued by vengeful physicians or patients, is initiated. Might pressure them to leave quietly before an investigation is initiated to save their asses. They should be fired. It's what they deserve. My gosh. Have their license taken from them also. Hospitals can then avoid having to report anything to the NPDB. They also avoid potential legal battles and embarrassing public scrutiny. Huh. Leaving the Garland Center didn't allow Ortiz to escape notice forever. However, the Texas Medical Board weighed in on the near suffocation there in a report issued 2 years later. For a short period, he'd be monitored by another physician who would review at least 30 of his patient records and prepare written reports documenting any perceived deficiencies. He also had to complete medical training classes and pay a $3,000 penalty, citing Ortiz's rehabilitative potential and present value to the community. The Texas Medical Board did not revoke his license. Oh, okay, so you have abused your power and murdered countless patients, but we won't revoke your medical license because you're valuable to the medical field. Just give us $3,000 and we should be okay. In its report, the medical board acknowledged Ortiz's past reprimand over failing to disclose the dog shooting incident. He shot a dog after abusing 3 women and killing countless patients. This is the world we're living in, people. To all healthcare entities and the board. He failed to disclose the dog shooting incident to all healthcare entities and the board. But this savage act of animal cruelty, it determined, was not based upon any activity related to the practice of medicine. On the evening of August 24th, 2022, the same day as Adler-Stein's emergency and Dr. Marsden's IV bag inspection, the FDA was notified by Tenet Healthcare, the company that operates the Baylor Scott and White North Dallas Surgical Care Center, about the potential tampering of Dr. Marsden had discovered. The center was temporarily closed and an investigation was immediately opened. Good! The FDA investigators reviewed the surgery center's security footage. The cameras had only recently been installed. Yeah. One camera watched over the area where the IV bags were stored. A stainless steel repository known as a warmer. When the investigators went over the footage, they noticed an unsettling pattern. Just prior to several of the adverse OR incidents, OTs could be seen setting IV bags into the warmer. This was unusual. IV bags are typically handled by techs, not doctors. In the footage, Ortiz often glanced around from side to side as if scanning for witnesses. In one instance, he left the operating room with an IV bag concealed in what appeared to be a paper folder, and then he swapped the bag with another from the warmer. Here's a screenshot picture of the footage. Okay. Adjacent to the warmer was a medical cabinet containing lidocaine, bupivacaine, and epinephrine. These were the same drugs found in Adlerstein's IV bag and the one found in Melanie Casper's system in her autopsy. In one recording, Ortiz was seen filling syringes with drugs. A number of the OR events happened soon after video surveillance showed Ortiz placing bags in the warmer. He became an immediate suspect. That photo was from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Northern District of Texas. Okay. On September 9th, just over 2 weeks after the FDA got involved, the Texas Medical Board suspended Ortiz's license. In its ruling, it cited the suspicious surveillance footage. Ortiz didn't know his license was suspended until a local reporter called him for comment. She quotes that Ortiz as saying, "I'm just devastated. I didn't do it, ma'am," and insisting that the only thing he would ever add to an IV bag was antibiotics. "I didn't do it. I didn't do it. It wasn't me, even though we caught you red-handed." Idiot. I've seen so many men do that. It's all men. Connect the dots, huh? Men are liars. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. You're on video and you're saying it wasn't me, I didn't do it. And we have a picture of you doing it in the act. This is a grown man who shot a dog, who assaulted 3 women, who killed a bunch of patients, and said he didn't do it while caught on camera. Yeah, you have a mental issue, buddy. You need to be in prison. When the reporter asked if he was concerned about the patients who had suffered emergencies, he told her, "Am I concerned? I didn't do anything." Wow. No empathy. A few days later, the police pulled over Ortiz in his white 2-door Mercedes with expired plates and arrested him. A single incident of seemingly intentional patient harm would be disconcerting, announced Chad E. Meacham, the U.S. Attorney for Northern District of Texas at the time. Multiple incidences are truly disturbing. Ortiz was denied bail. Oh, thank God. His arrest reverberated throughout Dallas. The city was still reeling from 2017, much publicized quote-unquote Dr. Death trial involving the local surgeon, Christopher Duntsch, Duntsch, who had a drug habit. His 38 career surgeries resulted in 33 injured patients and 2 deaths. People questioned again how a man with such a sordid history could have been allowed to continue administering care at all. Why was someone with such a violent past given so many slaps on the wrist? Wondered prominent medical YouTuber Dr. Michael Cellini, Cellini, soon after Ortiz's indictment. Like, what does it take to lose your license? The guy actually shot a dog because he was angry. Isn't that a red flag for being a physician? According to the Texas Medical Board, Ortiz's prior history was not in fact pertinent to his practicing medicine. While Dr. Ortiz had previous encounters with law enforcement and prior disciplinary history with the board, specifically a prior conviction for animal cruelty that is not necessarily grounds for license revocation. You can abuse an animal, but we'll trust you with humans. What the fuck is wrong with people? People I really, like on a daily basis. Like people don't have brains is what I think. Wow. According to the Texas Medical Board, Ortiz's prior history was not in fact pertinent to his practicing medicine. While Dr. Ortiz had previous encounters, yeah, a representative for the board told Men's Health, the magazine, reporter, journalist. Furthermore, an arrest itself, with certain exceptions, is also not necessarily actionable by the agency. Patient advocates routinely criticize state medical boards for inaction, but some boards are more proactive or responsive to patient complaints than others. Public Citizen, a watchdog group, analyzes state boards for how often they take serious disciplinary actions against a physician, such as suspensions or license revocations. In its latest analysis from 2019 to 2021, Michigan topped the list for the highest rate of serious disciplinary actions, with 1.74 per 1,000 physicians annually. So that doesn't necessarily mean they're the worst. All it means is they're the best in holding people accountable. Ohio and North Dakota were next. California, the state with the most licensed doctors, ranked 27th. Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. I made a couple complaints with the medical board in Los Angeles, and it was horrific. Patient advocates routinely criticize state medical boards for inaction. Okay, I just read that paragraph. These differences among states may stem from differences such as staffing and funding. Many boards lack the resources to investigate all or even most complaints. There are also varied laws pertaining to patient safety and medical malpractice in every state. So, where's the governor and what are they doing? Are they not doing their job? Would they rather play golf than do their job to protect people? For instance, not all states allow boards to conduct investigations without an outside complaint. Oh, like I gave and like you shit on? In any case, activists do not consider the legal system protective enough of patient safety. Most of the laws are written to protect the livelihood of the physician over the welfare of the patient. Oh my God. That statement right there in and of itself is horrific. Adds Michelle Montserrat Ramos, a patient safety advocate with the nonprofit consumer watchdog who lost her fiance to a negligent doctor. If only we had a system that also watched out for the person on the table. Everybody wants the medical board to do its job, but they were not doing their job. I'm getting tired and I don't want to read anymore. I'm already at 70 minutes and 35 seconds. But there is more to the story. I can't read anymore. I have to stop now. But if you would like to read the rest of the story, You can get this November, December 2024 Men's Health magazine, or you can go to menshealth.com. Thanks for watching. Peace. I hope you enjoyed reading with me. Take care.